Well guys, it's just about that time again. We are going to be doing a complete portfolio review, and I'm going to share with you every single stock and ETF that I'm currently holding across my 7-figure portfolio. Now in this review, as always, you're going to see every single position more or less that I hold across my various portfolios. And on top of that, I'm also going to share with you some of the names I've been buying as of recently like crazy. So if you want to see an entire breakdown of every single stock and ETF that I'm currently holding as of right now, make sure to drop a like down below, stick around, and let's get right into it. Real quick, for those that haven't already, make sure to go to the first link in my description and grab my new dividend investing ebook, where I share exactly how I went from $0 invested to now earning over $6,000 on a monthly basis and over $1 million invested in the market. Along with the ebook, you're also going to receive my custom dividend tracker, where you can track your dividend progress on an ongoing basis and reach your dividend investing goals. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. So first, like I said, this is my dividend tracker right here, which basically has more or less every single stock and ETF across my various brokerage accounts. As of right now, we're currently sitting at around $78,132 of total yearly dividends and $6,511 of total monthly dividends. Now these numbers, as always, are just estimations. Not everything in this portfolio is exactly perfect, and this is because I sometimes forget to update the tracker, but this is more or less, like I said, everything we're holding as of right now. Now, as we go through this review, I'm going to get some commentary and tell you some of my thoughts on some of the positions I currently hold as of right now. So with that being said, let's get right into it at the first position. So the first ETF, still holding my 1,748 shares of ticker symbol BDJ, the BlackRock Enhanced Equity Dividend Trust, which good old trusty BDJ has been paying the 5.6 cents per share per month across my portfolios, and I've owned BDJ for several years now. Now I'm currently still down as far as my average cost per share compared to the last closing price of BDJ, but the delta is narrowing and getting a little bit closer. The next position that I have been buying a ton more of as of recently is ticker symbol DIVO, or the Amplified CWP Enhanced Dividend Income ETF. Now I've made so many videos at this point about Devo. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Devo. The more or less 4.5 to 5% dividend yield, with the potential for upside with Devo. I really can't say it enough. I love Devo. I have Devo across all my portfolios for the most part. And whenever I personally have extra cash balance, I always seem to grab a few more shares. The next position in my portfolio that's still exactly the same is my 1,262 shares of ticker symbol VZ, or Verizon. Now Verizon has been slowly recovering a little bit since the most recent lows that we saw a while back. But Verizon, compared to the other holdings in my portfolio, is still one of my weakest holdings. I'm still holding a massive paper loss, although, like I've said before, I do sell covered calls on Verizon and have the entire way down. Along with that, I earn a quite hefty dividend every single quarter. But with selling those covered calls, I am basically ready to get rid of my Verizon shares if it starts trading within the right price range. And once I get rid of these Verizon shares, I honestly will probably redeploy this cash, this capital, into SCHD and SPYI. So honestly, if someone came to me tomorrow and offered me a certain amount of money for Verizon, I would sell every last share. Next up, we still have my 1,000 shares of Apple. Have not sold a single share, have not bought a single share. Still my same 1,000 shares of Apple at an average cost of around $118. Next, QYLD, the Global X Nasdaq 100 Covered Call ETF. This was an ETF that I was not touching, not buying, or selling for a long time. Then a few months back, I started buying a few more shares of QYLD here and there, but I haven't since. Sitting at 27.34 as far as shares go with QYLD. Next, ticker symbol low Realty Income. I did grab some more Realty Income in one of my smaller portfolios. I'm not exactly sure if I remember to update this as far as shares go, but we're sitting just sub 2,900 shares as of right now. My goal before the end of the year would be to get to 3,000. And although I'm still buying a few shares of Realty Income here and there, I'm pretty happy with where my position is at right now. It's definitely one of the largest positions across my entire portfolio, so not really in a rush to add too much Realty Income from here. Next, we still have our 1,248 shares of JetB. Nothing new with that. We still have our 748 shares of EPD. Haven't bought any more EPD in quite some time. We still have our 700 BST. We still have our 611 MPW, which has recovered a little bit since the most recent lows, but still selling cover calls on MPW. Same thing with Verizon. If the right price comes about, I will definitely get rid of it. Next, JetQ. We did grab a few more shares of JetQ as of recently. Not sure if I updated this honestly, but I started buying a little bit more JetQ just because I really haven't into these higher yielding covered call style ETFs, the nice ones, the good ones at least. I'm talking things like JetQ or SPYI, which I've been buying a lot of as of recently. Next, we still have our 300 shares of OHI, nothing new there. We have our 246 of NUC. We still have our 194 of XYLD. SCHD, we are now up to 624 shares. If you've watched me before, you know this is a main position I've been buying over the last year or so, trying to get to 1,000 shares before the end of this year. Of course, I probably could technically get to it pretty easily if I wanted to drain my monthly dividends and reinvest it just in SCHD. But because I want to buy so many other stocks and ETFs on a monthly basis across the portfolio, it's sort of unlikely we're going to hit 1,000 unless we really start digging into it and really only buy SCHD. But after that, we still have our 311 shares of Altria Group, nothing new there. We still have our Triple N REIT, 261 shares, JP Morgan, 100 shares. Next, we have our 293 shares of VICI Properties. I did actually trim some of my VICI off one of my smaller portfolios. Again, not exactly sure if I updated this as of yet, I'll have to go back and see. But VICI Properties is not necessarily a stock that I love or hate. And honestly, as far as REITs go, I'm a bigger fan of realty income just because of the diversification. And honestly, I'll always hold some VICI, but with almost 300 shares, I mean, that's almost $10,000 position as of right now. This stock has really done nothing over the last year or two that I've been holding on to it. I can't really remember when I first started buying VICI, but it hasn't really done all that much. There is the potential for growth as well as dividend growth goes, but at this point, I'd much rather put this into something else throughout the portfolio. So I am most likely going to start trimming more and more VICI, probably until I get down to maybe 100 shares or so. But let me know what you guys think about all these positions in the comments, and definitely let me know what you guys think about VICI. Next, we still have our 59 shares of Kinder Morgan. We have Main Street Capital, one of my favorites, of course, one of my favorite single stocks. We have 252 shares of Main. I think I did add some more shares of Main since the last video we went over the portfolio. Main Street Capital is still a position I'm looking to grow throughout this year. It's just always so expensive. I mean, right now it's trading at still $49 per share. I really wish Main would drop down to the low 40s or maybe even the high 30s. At that point, I'd definitely load up. We have our 29 shares of Walgreens, which I actually did, I think, sell every single share of Walgreens across the portfolios. I'll definitely have to go through and circle back and double check if I did update this. I think I might have some Walgreens still in one of my smaller portfolios, but for the most part, we have massively slashed our Walgreens position, taken a pretty massive loss, but it is what it is. You win some, you lose some. WP Carey, 351 shares. I have been selling cover calls in WP Carey for probably over a year now. The cover calls are looking very, very good because it has dropped a lot since when I shorted it. WP Carey is another one that I'm not the biggest fan of, sort of the same thing with VICI. Don't hate it, don't love it. 47 shares of Pinnacle West, of course. We still have our 255 shares of YieldMax Tesla, which although Tesla still is paying a pretty decent dividend to me every single month, I am down significantly on the shares. At this point, we're probably down around 40% as far as price return goes, but I'm going to keep holding on to Tesla, not buying a single more share. Honestly, just sort of a fun, goofy position to have in the portfolio. We still have our 24 shares of UPS. We still have our 20 shares of Pembina. We still have our 18 shares of ABR. Extra Space Storage, we still have our 16 shares of. They were sort of teasing that there was going to be a dividend bump, but nothing at all. At this point, I would definitely sell off maybe some of my EXR, although it's relatively a small position, if I had the chance sometime in the future. Next, we have our 17 shares of SPG. We are up substantially on this one. We are up $50 or so per share. I wish I would have bought more SPG when I had the chance. And honestly, even though it's only 17 shares, I've even considered trimming this one at this point because I am up around 50% as far as price return goes. Next, we have our 201 shares of SVOL, still buying some SVOL here and there. We have our 9 shares of Stag. We have our 8 shares of T-Row. We have our 19 of Kimberly-Clark. We have 3192 VNQ. We have our 200 Coke. We have our 700 Public. We have our 401 shares of NEOS, S&P 500 High Income ETF, SPYI, which at this point I can just not stop talking, ranting, and raving about. I'm a huge fan of SPYI, and I do think it's going to do very, very well in the future. Then lastly, we still have our 12 shares of FEPI. We have our 2 shares of DGRW, and that more or less makes up every single stock or ETF across my multiple portfolios. Like I said, not everything has been updated perfectly, but more or less this gives us all an idea. So now that we broke down the portfolio as it sits as of current, and I gave all my thoughts as far as different things I've been buying more as of recently and some positions I might trim. I lastly want to hear from you guys down below. Out of the entire portfolio as it sits current, what is your number one favorite stock or ETF that's in this portfolio as it sits, and which is your least favorite? Drop the ticker symbols in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.